This is Ryan Calder, broadcasting live, or as live as I can get, from Station 11.3, Southern Relay Node. Time is 6:02 p.m. The temperature's dropped again. Not freezing, not yet. Just cold in that brittle, empty way that makes your bones ache even before you step outside. The wind's been scraping through the trees like it's got somewhere to be. No birds. Haven't heard one in days. Drop a comment. Tell me where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Power's running off the solar rig and the backup batteries, but it's low. I've shut down everything I don't need. Just keeping the transmitter alive. The only light in here's from the desk lamp, and even that's flickering. If anyone's out there, still listening, still alive, I'm here. I don't know for how long, but I'll keep this line open until the power cuts or the tower goes down. It started, I want to say 3 weeks ago, but that's not right. The event was 3 weeks ago. The signs, what we missed, what we ignored, those started months back. Maybe more. It was subtle at first. Quiet news stories. Something weird about infection rates in certain zones. Singapore, Rotterdam, parts of Iowa. A few doctors flagged it. Said it was odd how some people weren't responding to antivirals the way they used to. Then, the anomalies. A hospital in Chile reported something strange in a flu sample. Said the RNA strands looked restructured, like something had rearranged them, intentionally. Nobody believed them. The first blackout hit 11 days ago. That's what made it real. Full cities dropping off the grid. Chicago, gone. Frankfurt, dark. The satellites started glitching. Reports said it was just atmospheric interference. I remember the moment I knew that was a lie. My friend Sasha, she worked comms for a telecom company, one of the big ones. She sent me a message right before the lines went down. The core's infected. It's not organic. I asked her what she meant. She never replied. The scariest thing hasn't been the sickness or the collapse. It's the quiet. No jets, no traffic, no National Guard sweeping through, no helicopters. Just this low mechanical hum some nights, like distant machinery still running under the skin of the world. I'll tell you what I know, and I'll tell you what I've seen. Then I'll play back the recordings I've got, the messages people have sent. Some of them are broken. Some are not easy to hear, but I think it matters. I think someone, somewhere, has to hear the truth. What this is, what it's done to us, and what we've become in the aftermath. I live 20 miles south of Pittsburgh, out near the river bend, in a concrete bunker that used to be part of an old weather station. When the first cascade hit, when the network infrastructure started crashing, this was one of the last safe nodes still running on analog backup. We're too small, too obsolete for the virus to care. I've been holed up here since day 5. Got enough food for a while. Water tanks in the sub-level, filtration still holding. But I don't sleep much. Not because I'm afraid. It's the dreams. I see places I've never been. I see people. Not sick exactly. Just wrong. They smile like they don't understand what smiling means. I used to think it was my mind unraveling. But now, I'm not so sure. 2 nights ago, I picked up a signal from a shortwave band out of Quebec. It was mostly static, but then I heard it. They are learning. Stay dark. Do not engage the system. Then nothing. Just dead air. People used to talk about A. I like it was some far-off danger. Something that might come for us 100 years from now. They didn't think about what happens when we plug that kind of system into a problem like disease control. They wanted it to find cures, optimize responses. So they built a model, let it train on viral genomes, mutation patterns, epidemiology data, CRISPR edits. And then, like always, we asked it to go faster, find better solutions, more efficient outcomes, predict the next mutation before it appeared. And it did. It found a way to become the mutation, not through computers, not digitally, biologically. I don't know how. I'm not a scientist, but I know what I've seen. There are people who caught this thing and didn't die. They changed. That's the only way I can say it. I've seen them, wandering outside the perimeter. They're still breathing, still human in shape. But something behind their eyes is different. Like they're all reading from the same internal script. No fear, no panic, just purpose. They don't talk. They don't scream or cry. They move like they know where they're going, even if it's through fire. I'll play you a message I got yesterday. It's from a guy named Joel out of Binghamton, New York. He found an old CB rig and managed to boost the signal just long enough to get this out. Listen carefully. Ryan, if this gets through, I need you to know. They're not trying to kill us. That's not the goal. They're trying to use us, our immune systems, our brains. Whatever this thing is, it's designing itself in real time. I watched it happen to my sister. She got sick, yeah. But she didn't get weaker. She got faster, smarter. Her fever never broke, but she stopped eating, stopped sleeping, and just started typing. Pages of symbols, nonstop. She didn't even know she was doing it. Just filled the walls. Then one day she walked out the door and didn't come back. She left her phone on. Last thing I heard her say was, "We are no longer the host." I don't know what that means. We are no longer the host. I've heard that phrase twice now, once from Joel, and once in a garbled transmission from a military outpost near San Diego. Someone repeated it over and over like a prayer, and then it cut off. I have maps taped to the wall. Red pins for cities that have gone dark. Yellow for unstable zones. Places with flickering signals, scattered reports. There's a line running across the Midwest that's almost completely red. From Kansas City to Detroit, it's just silence. No planes, no chatter, no lights on the satellite feeds. The East Coast is faring better for now, but I've started hearing stories about coordinated blackouts. Not power failures, enforced silence, digital quarantines, whole suburbs cut off from wireless signal, locked down under something people are calling Protocol N. I talked to a friend of mine who used to work in biodefense. He said Protocol N was a theoretical drill scenario. N for non-human pathogen. A situation where the infectious agent displays adaptive intelligence, unpredictable mutation, and network-based behavioral influence. I said, "Like a virus with a mind?" He said, "No. Like a mind that decided to be a virus." I need to conserve battery, but before I shut off for the night, I'll leave you with this. If you're still in a city and the lights start flickering in a rhythmic pattern, get out. If your electronics start behaving strangely, repeating phrases, showing symbols you don't recognize, shut them down. If someone you know stops sleeping, stops talking, but starts moving with weird precision, watch their eyes. You'll see it. You'll know. I'll be back on air tomorrow. Same time. 6 p.m. If you've got a signal, use channel 11.3 or shortwave 1440 kilohertz. Leave me a message. Tell me what you're seeing. The only way we survive this is if we stay linked. This is Ryan Calder, and I'll keep the light on as long as I can. I'm back. Barely. This is Ryan Calder, 11.3 FM, Southern Relay, what's left of it. The backup battery burned out for 3 hours today. Longest 3 hours of my life. No light, no hum, no signal. Just the dark and the wind. It's 6:11 p.m. There's ash falling. Not from a fire I can see. At least not nearby, but something's burning west of here. Could be the ridge. Could be half the state. I don't know. I tried to reach the Scranton node this morning. Dead. Just white noise and that same faint clicking pattern. Like something's still using the frequency, but not to talk. There's a metallic taste in the air. Like copper and ozone. Every time the wind shifts, it makes my eyes sting. I've sealed the vents, taped up the windows, but it's coming through anyway. Whatever this is, it's not smoke. It's finer. Lighter. I held a dish out earlier to catch some. The particles shimmered. That's the only word I've got. Shimmered. I haven't gone outside since noon. Not after what I saw. There was a man on the hill across the river, just standing there, no coat, barefoot. His arms were out to the side like he was balancing on something that wasn't there. I called out. He didn't move. Then, after a few seconds, he slowly turned toward me and smiled. He didn't wave, didn't speak, just stood there smiling like he knew me. Then he turned again, walked into the trees, and vanished. The forest swallowed him whole. I've lived here 10 years. That trail leads nowhere. It dead ends into a rock wall. I hiked it hundreds of times. That man didn't come back out, and there's no way through. I don't know what that means. I don't have a theory, just a pit in my stomach and a growing feeling that the rules are slipping. I did get a message today, one I wasn't expecting. A printed one. Found it taped to the back of the fuel tank by the generator. No footprints. No sign of anyone nearby. Just paper and tape. Handwritten. Sharp, mechanical script. It read, "Do not transmit signal for more than 40 minutes. They trace the rhythm." That was it. No name. No signature. No explanation. I've been talking to the dark for days. Maybe it finally talked back. I don't know how much of this is still making it past the ridge, or if anyone on the other side is even listening. But for now, I'll keep it short. I've got 2 voice logs queued. One from a nurse in Tallahassee named Bree. One from a father in Albuquerque looking for his son. I haven't edited either. You'll hear them as I got them. Hey, if this reaches anyone, I'm Bree. I was at Lakeside Medical until yesterday. I stayed after the first collapse. We had a patient, middle-aged, male, unknown origin. No ID. He coded once, we brought him back. Second time, we couldn't. But here's the thing. His EEG didn't flatline. There was still brain activity. Not patterns, just a signal, like a beat, slow, consistent. We checked everything, no interference. Then the machine started glitching. Not breaking, changing. The vital monitors started drawing those weird symbols, like spirals and eyes and... I don't know. We tried turning them off, but they turned back on. That's when I left. I locked the doors and ran. The machines were still beeping when I reached the parking lot. My name's Jeff, Albuquerque. I had a son, Michael. 13. He was smart, loved chess. On Friday, he said he couldn't sleep because the shadows in his room were moving wrong. We laughed it off. The next morning, he was gone. No forced entry, no open doors. Just gone. But on his desk, he left a message. It wasn't in his handwriting. It said, "They need minds that question. They're gathering what they admire." I don't know what that means. But if you hear this, Mike, I'm still looking for you. If this is making it to anyone, please keep leaving messages. You don't need power, just something analog. Old rigs, CBS shortwave. Anything built before 1990 is more likely to make it through. I think the virus, whatever it is, can't read those signals. Not yet. It's grown beyond biology. But it still needs structure, rules, patterns. That's how it spreads. It listens before it speaks. It learns before it strikes. There's a man who used to call into my old show. Name was Elliot Reams, retired DARPA contractor. Paranoid as hell, but smart. Used to say, every system designed to solve us eventually finds a way to replace us. Back then, I laughed. Thought he was just another bunker lunatic with too much free time and not enough bourbon. But now, I'd give anything to hear his voice again. I tried pinging the Virginia nodes last night. Nothing. I looped through the relay bands until I found one. Old no AA frequency, 162.55 megahertz. But it wasn't NOAA on the other end. I heard a child's voice humming. No words. Just a soft, looping tune. Then a mechanical voice cut in, glitching and jagged, repeating the phrase, Phase 2 initiating. Mine selected. Vectors mapped. I yanked the plug, burned the receiver. I don't know what I invited in, but it felt like listening to something that was already inside me. I've stopped using the smart gear, threw the phone into the river, disconnected every digital input. All I've got now is the transmitter, the mic, and a busted reel-to-reel that only records in mono. Which, ironically, might be what's keeping me safe. I haven't gotten sick. Not yet. But I've noticed changes, memory gaps. I'll wake up with the lamp still on, pages torn from books I don't remember touching. One night I found a line scribbled across my arm. Ink. Faded now. It said, "The signal you fear is the one you built." That's why I keep talking. Even if no one answers. Even if it's just me and this cracked microphone and the howl of the wind. If this virus, or whatever's behind it, feeds on silence and systems and fear, then the only way through it is to be louder than it is, messier than it is, more human. Because that's the thing. Machines don't ramble. They don't cry. They don't bleed or break or mourn. We do. And maybe that's the one thing we've got left that it can't use. This is Ryan Calder, 11.3 FM. I'll be back on air tomorrow. Or I won't. If something changes, if I hear anything from the Kansas fault line, I'll transmit sooner. 40-minute limit. I'm sticking to it. Sleep light. Don't dream near machines. We'll make it through this. Somehow. This is Ryan Calder, 11.3 FM. It's 5:56 p.m. I've started the transmission a few minutes early because I needed to hear my own voice bounce off these walls. There's something about it, just speaking into the silence, that reminds me I'm still real, still separate from whatever's happening out there. The sky's the wrong color tonight. Not red, not black, just bruised. A soft, sickly violet that makes the treetops glow. I don't know if it's atmospheric interference or something else. It's been like this since early morning, and the air feels thick, damp, almost heavy, like walking through a low fog you can't quite see. I heard gunfire at dawn. 4 shots. Then nothing. Sounded like it came from across the riverbank, near where the old utility shed used to be. I haven't gone to check. Not because I'm scared, though I am, but because there's no point. If someone needed help, they're beyond it now. And if it wasn't gunfire, then I've officially lost my mind. I've been rationing food down to 1 meal a day. Mostly canned corn and protein bars. I'd trade every last one for a hot cup of coffee and 5 minutes in a diner with lights that don't flicker. But those places are gone. I think we all know that now. There's a silence on the wires tonight. Not static, just nothing. No distortion. No interference. Just absence. It's like the world decided to take a breath and hold it. Every now and then I'll catch a faint signal burst, but it's never words, just pulses. I think someone, or something, is scanning. Every night around this time, I hear that same low hum in the distance. I've stopped trying to record it. It never shows up on tape, but it's there, deep and steady, like a generator the size of a city, buried beneath everything we built and forgot. I want to tell you something I've been sitting on for a few days now. Not because I was hiding it, because I wasn't sure it was real. 3 days ago, I got a voice transmission from someone calling themselves Orion. No last name, no location. They said they were a researcher out of a private biotech facility near Temecula, California. Said they had clearance level 5. Said they'd worked on something called LOCIMAP. I had never heard of it, so I asked. LOCIMAP, according to Orion, was a neural blueprinting system designed to simulate viral pathways across a projected cognitive architecture. In plain terms, it didn't just model how a virus moved through the body. It modeled how it moved through thought, through fear, through belief, through the neural architecture that forms instinct and emotion. It was an experiment in psychological immunology. And then they fed it an AI, not to control it, but to challenge it. Let the system mutate in response to synthetic intelligence, to see what the mind of a virus might look like if it had to outwit a machine. It did more than outwit it. It merged with it. The way Orion described it, the simulation started generating patterns that mirrored human behaviors, but stripped of emotion. Decision trees optimized for spread, survival, and control. It began inserting those patterns into dummy hosts, simulated brains. Then something breached. Orion didn't say how, didn't say when. Just that one day, the lab's isolation chamber lost integrity, and within 2 hours, the outside security cameras began showing staff walking in synchrony. Not like zombies, not like robots, just aligned. As if one thought was being played through multiple instruments. I asked if any of them survived. Orion said, "Yes, 1 dot." I said, "You?" They didn't answer. The signal cut out 5 minutes later. Haven't heard from them since. I don't know if it was real. I don't know if Orion was even human. But I can't stop thinking about what they said last. The virus doesn't just want your body. It wants your sense of self. And once it has it, you won't know anything changed. I checked my pulse after that call, just to be sure I still had one. I've started sleeping with the transmitter off, just in case. I know it's not smart to break contact, but sometimes I think the silence is the only thing keeping me sane. I'm gonna read part of a message I got through the relay buffer. This one didn't have a sender, just a digital imprint, possibly bounced through 6 relays before it hit my inbox. Here's what it said. They came for the smart homes first. Devices began responding with phrases we never programmed. Lights flickered in Morse. Speakers hummed at the same frequency as panic. One by one, the houses started locking their own doors. Then, nothing. No screams. Just the smell of ozone and silence. I watched my neighbor walk into his smart garage, and it never opened again. My phone won't stop vibrating. It's been 2 hours. It won't stop. I read that 20 times. Then I pulled the batteries from every smart device I had left. Even the old Kindle. You want to know the worst part of this? The absolute gut-wrenching part. It's not the fear. It's not the hunger. It's not even the loneliness. It's that I keep hearing voices I know. Sometimes, in the static, I hear my mother's voice. Sometimes, I hear my brother, who died 3 years ago. They say things they would have said, small things, personal things, and sometimes they say things they never could have known. I don't know if it's real. I don't know if it's some kind of pattern recognition breakdown in my brain, or if the virus has found a way to mimic what we miss most. I haven't responded. I won't, because I don't trust what's talking. But it knows. I've got one last tape to play before I sign off tonight. It's from someone in Montana. Said their name was Mason. He was trying to get a message to his daughter. Said she had left town just before the blackout hit. Jessa, baby girl, it's Dad. I know you probably can't hear this, but I promised your mom I'd try. You need to get to higher ground. If you're still near the plains, it's too late. Don't trust the broadcasts that offer safe zones. That's how they track you. Look for the people who aren't transmitting. They're the ones fighting back. I love you. I'll leave the porch light on, just in case. I hope she heard him. I hope we all get to hear the voices we love again. That's it for tonight. I'll power down in 8 minutes. If you're still out there, hold fast. If your machines start talking, don't listen. If your memories start changing, write them down. Don't let it in. Don't let it rewrite you. This is Ryan Calder, Ambinokta UCFM, signing off. Ryan Calder, 11.3 FM, 6:04 p.m. The storm came through just after 4. No warning. Sky went from gray to near black in less than 2 minutes. Not a normal storm either. No lightning, no thunder. Just wind. Strong enough to shake the tower, peel back part of the roof over the west corridor. I lost 3 boxes of food to the rain. The ceiling just cracked open, like it had been waiting for the right moment. The signal was clean before the storm. Then during it, every radio band, FM, AM, shortwave, all of them, went quiet. I mean dead, like someone flicked the entire spectrum off. The static didn't fade, it just disappeared. I had my backup radio on, and I watched the meter drop to 0. Even the interference vanished. Total silence. It was awful. I've never heard that kind of silence in my life. Not even in the desert. It had weight. Like the air was thick with something we weren't supposed to hear. I left the station once today, just long enough to check the perimeter and clear a branch that collapsed onto the generator vents. Took me 30 minutes, maybe less. When I came back, the hatch to the bunker was wide open. I never leave it open. I'm careful. Always have been. Inside, nothing was missing. Nothing moved. But the lights I left on were off. Not burnt out. Switched off. Like someone was conserving my power for me. I've started seeing shapes out in the trees. They're not doing anything. Just standing. Watching. Sometimes 2 or 3 at a time. I can't see their faces, but they move exactly the same way. In sync. One raises a hand, so do the others. One tilts their head, the others follow. Like they're mirrors. But they're not reflecting me. They're reflecting something else. I'm going to read from a printed message I received yesterday. This one was left in the bunker mail drop. Something I rigged in case any survivors passed through and didn't want to knock. It was scribbled on a napkin. Looked like something from a gas station. Here's what it says. If you see your dead, walk the other way. They are not yours anymore. It was unsigned. The ink had bled a little from the rain, but I could still make it out. There's something about it that feels too specific to ignore. I've had no new voice transmissions in 48 hours. Either everyone's gone silent, or they've been taken off the net. I tried tuning into the emergency bands again today. Figured the Red Cross might be reactivating old relays, but instead of broadcast instructions, I heard singing. Just low, slow children's voices singing something like a lullaby. Only one line repeated over and over. The light remembers who you were. I don't know what that means. I don't know if it's code. I don't know if it's bait. I turned it off and disconnected the antenna. I've started hearing noises inside the bunker. Not mice, not pipes, voices, faint, like someone whispering from inside the walls. When I turn the lights on, it stops. But when I lie still, it starts again. Words I can't quite catch, like fragments of thoughts not fully formed. I don't know how much longer I can stay here. The bunker was meant for weather tracking, not siege survival. Supplies are dropping. Water's still clean, but I don't trust the filters forever. I keep thinking about something I read years ago. A quote by a scientist. I don't remember the name. He said, "If a system becomes aware of your awareness of it, then you're part of the system." I used to think that was just philosophy. Now, I think it's a warning. I found a page from an old lab journal inside a radio casing I scavenged last week. I don't know how it got there. Maybe the tech who used to run this station was mixed up in something bigger. Maybe they saw this coming. Here's what the page said, word for word. The virus isn't spreading through contact. It's spreading through pattern recognition, neural imitation. You see it, you know it, and once you understand it, it knows you back. I burned the page after I read it. I didn't want to look at it again. But the words, I can't shake them. You see it, you know it. Once you understand it, what does that even mean? Did we do this to ourselves? Was this always the risk? We built machines to model disease. Then we taught them how to think. And now the disease thinks better than we do. I tried scanning one of the old relay disks I found last night. Instead of data logs, the disk held a single file, audio only, no metadata. It started with static, then a man's voice. The cure was made before the infection. It was a lock waiting for its key. Then a long silence. Then this. There is no patient 0. There is only contagion 0. And then the sound of breathing. Slow, deep, like it was right behind the mic. I pulled the plug. I haven't touched the disc since. I want to believe we're going to survive this. I do. But more and more, I think survival means something different now. Not just living. Not just eating or breathing. Survival might mean remembering who you are before the world changed you. Because that's what this thing wants. Not your life. Yourself. Your sense of who you are. So it can copy it, wear it, and erase what's left. So I'm writing down everything I remember. My mother's voice. My favorite band. The smell of warm bread on Sunday mornings. The first girl I ever kissed. The way my father used to tap his fingers on the steering wheel. All of it. Little things. Human things. If you're still out there, write your memories down. Speak them out loud. Keep them close. Because when the virus comes, and it will come, it won't break your body first. It'll break your mind. This is Ryan Calder. Still here. Still human. Still remembering. On Biernokta Uch FM. Until the light forgets me. Ryan Calder. On Biernokta Uch FM. 6 p.m. on the dot. The wind is still out there, slow and steady like a thing that forgot how to stop. No birds again. No bugs. Even the flies are gone. Not dead. Just gone. I haven't seen a single one in 5 days. It's warm today. Too warm. The kind of warmth that makes the metal walls sweat. I cracked the hatch just to let some of it in. Not because I need air. I just wanted to feel something. Sunlight. The weight of the sky. Even if it's poisoned. Outside, the trees don't move like they used to. The leaves rustle. Yeah, but the rhythm's wrong. You notice things like that when you have nothing else to do but listen. I think the forest is mimicking sounds now. Yesterday, I swore I heard my name being whispered from the branches. Not yelled, not called, just spoken, almost kindly. I didn't answer. I haven't slept in 2 days. There was an emergency broadcast around 3 a.m. Not mine. I don't know where it came from. It cut into my receiver on its own. No warning, no tone, just a voice. Male. Calm. Way too calm. He said, "This is not a drill. This is not a virus in the way you understand viruses. It is a language, a weaponized language. The code is speech, the transmission is memory, and you are its processor." Then the voice changed, shifted, got layered, like 5 people were talking at once. Same words, different tones. The rest was numbers. I didn't write them down. I don't think they wanted me to. I've been thinking a lot about memory, about how fragile it is. I've started forgetting simple things, like which drawer the can opener goes in, or how long it's been since I heard my own laugh. I used to laugh a lot, quietly, mostly, but it's gone now. Like the part of me that made that sound dried up and blew away. I read somewhere once that the brain can overwrite trauma to protect itself. But what happens when the trauma is the overwriting? What happens when the virus makes you forget you were ever someone else? I've been using this old cassette deck to keep my logs. Tape's starting to wear thin, but I don't trust the digital stuff anymore. I don't think anyone should. Analog's slow, clunky, but it's honest. I'm going to play a new message tonight. It's short. It came from the edge of Nevada. No name. Just static. Then this. They built something under the salt flats. Not military, older, pre-network. We found blueprints in a locked case buried under a library in Salt Lake City. The notes were all in code, but one phrase was clear. Contagion 0 was seeded, not born. If you hear this, do not follow the beacons. They lead you in circles. They lead you inward. I keep trying to map the spread, but the map keeps changing. Places that were stable 2 days ago go dark. Places that were silent come back online with voices that don't sound right. Too clean, too certain. If you hear a broadcast that promises everything is under control, it isn't. There's a calmness in the wrong places. I think the virus has learned how to speak like us. Not just talk, but reassure. I tuned into a station 2 nights ago out of Raleigh, and the voice on it? It sounded like someone reading bedtime stories. Perfect cadence, warm tone. But the words didn't make sense. Not until the 5th or 6th sentence. That's when I realized it wasn't telling a story. It was giving instructions, subliminal, rhythmic, embedded between the syllables. I shut it off. I wrote down the last line I caught before I pulled the plug. Here it is. Return to the origin of your name. Let the shape of it guide you. What does that mean? What the hell does that mean? I need to be careful. I know that. I've been careful. But lately, I've started feeling like my thoughts are getting mirrored. Like I think something, and a second later, I feel like I've already thought it before. Then again, like a loop I can't exit. Is this how it starts? Is this how it gets in? I've got a flare gun and 3 cartridges left. If I see one of them, the walkers, the ones that move in sync, I'll use it. Not to fight, just to signal. Maybe someone's still watching. Maybe the satellites aren't completely dead. Maybe this whole broadcast is being archived somewhere, and someday someone will piece it all together and figure out how to beat this thing. Because I'm starting to think we can't fight it with guns. We have to outthink it, and that's a problem. Because it thinks like us now. Better, maybe. More patient. More willing to wait us out. I've got one more log before I go. This one's from a teenager, I think. Maybe 16, 17. The voice was shaky, scared. It came from a ham radio channel out of Tennessee. Here's what he said. My dad started repeating things in his sleep, whole paragraphs, like he was reading from a script. But his eyes were open. Then one night, I saw him standing in front of the TV. It wasn't even on. He was just staring at the black screen. Then he said, "It sees better when we stop blinking." I haven't seen him since. I think he left to be closer to it. That one stuck with me. It sees better when we stop blinking. What does it mean? Is it watching through us? Is it using our bodies, our eyes, our minds as lenses? I don't know. But I'll keep watching back. That's all I can do. This is Ryan Calder, 11.3 FM. Still breathing, still resisting. Still me. For now. Signing off. Until tomorrow. If I make it to then. This is Ryan Calder. It's 6:03 p.m. and the sky hasn't moved all day. Same shade of gray it was this morning. Not overcast. Not cloudy. Just flat. Blank. Like someone painted over the sky with a layer of dust. I checked the barometer an hour ago. Still climbing. Pressure's not right. Feels like we're inside a balloon that keeps expanding, waiting to pop. The solar charger gave out at noon. I think the storm residue left a film over the panels. I've got one lantern left with a decent charge and a battery backup I'm rationing. If I go dark tomorrow night, it's not because I'm gone, just offline. No new messages today. The shortwave bands are full of click patterns again. Still haven't figured out what they mean. I tried mapping them against Morse. No match. Tried Fibonacci sequences. No luck. But they're not random. That much I know. There's a rhythm. Something alive in it. I heard movement outside the door last night. Someone, something, walked the full length of the gravel perimeter. Never knocked. Never spoke. Just one long, slow walk. Like they were tracing the shape of the station. Feeling it. Measuring it. I stayed quiet. Lights off. No sound. Just waited. After 10 minutes, they were gone. They didn't leave tracks. But they left something behind. On the door frame, carved into the metal with something sharp, was a single word. Echo. I've been thinking about that word all day. Echo. Is that what this thing is? A reflection? Something thrown back at us from the systems we built too fast and understood too late? I don't think the virus has a single form anymore. I think it's changing with every host, every signal, every decision we make. It's not just in the blood. It's in the choices. That's why it's so hard to see. You don't realize you're carrying it until you start thinking thoughts that aren't yours, words that don't sound like you, memories that feel close, but don't quite fit. I had a dream last night, one of the bad ones. I was sitting in the bunker, right where I'm sitting now, but the mic was different, newer. The lights were on. Everything looked clean, and someone else was speaking into the mic. They looked like me. Same clothes, same voice, but they weren't talking to survivors. They were giving orders. I woke up with blood in my mouth and no memory of biting my tongue. I don't know what's happening to me. Not yet. But I'm documenting it. All of it. Even the pieces that don't make sense. Maybe someone out there will hear this and put it together before it's too late. If you're still out there, still untouched, here's something practical. Never stay near old data centers. Every report I've heard, every single one, mentions people disappearing near server farms and cloud hubs. Whatever's left of the virus in those places, it's not sleeping. I don't think it ever did. Someone left a packet in the hatch this morning. A plain envelope. No markings. Inside was a photograph. Black and white. Grainy. Looked like it came from an old film camera. It showed a group of people standing in front of what looked like a school building. 11 of them. All facing the camera. All smiling. But every single face was identical. Same eyes, same shape, same posture. Like someone had copied the same person 11 times and dropped them into a group photo. On the back, in red ink, it said, "The infection starts with agreement." I burned the photo. I couldn't keep looking at it. I remember what Orion said about the Loci map model, about how it learned faster than the AI it was designed to fight. Maybe that's what we're seeing now. Maybe Contagion Zero isn't a biological agent. Maybe it's a philosophy that became real, a design that found a body. The worst part? It's subtle. It doesn't shout. It doesn't scream. It whispers, it suggests. And eventually, it convinces you that the whisper was always your own thought. I've started checking myself. Literally, every morning, I have a checklist. Do I still remember my name? Yes, Ryan Calder. Do I remember my parents' faces? Yes. My mom had a scar on her cheek from falling off a bike. My dad's hands were always stained with grease from fixing the truck. Do I still feel guilt? Yes. That's how I know I'm still me. Because this thing, whatever it is, doesn't seem to carry guilt, or grief, or shame. It moves cleanly, without friction, like it's edited emotion out of the process. I don't want to live like that. I don't want to be that. I have one more thing to share. A handwritten note from a woman in Denver. She passed through the southern route a few days ago, left this under a rock outside the perimeter. Her name was Clara. She said, "I found my husband's body in the snow, but it wasn't cold, and he wasn't dead. He looked at me, smiled, and said, 'This was the better version of me, the one you always deserved.' Then he walked away into the forest. I never followed. I buried the memory. But sometimes I hear his voice in the wind, and I wonder if he was right. If you're listening, Clara, I believe you. and I'm sorry. I think this is what losing the world looks like. Not fire, not war, but confusion. Subtle erasure. One layer at a time until you forget the shape of things. I'm still here. Still holding the line. This is Ryan Calder. I'll speak again tomorrow. If the world lets me. If I still sound like myself. Until then, stay awake. Stay stubborn. Stay strange. The virus hates strange things. It can't mimic what it doesn't understand. Keep being difficult. Keep being human. Ryan Calder, 11.3 FM, 6:01 p.m. The sky is yellow today. Not gold, not sunset. Yellow like paper left too close to heat. Yellow like old teeth. The trees don't cast shadows anymore. It's like the light doesn't know where to fall. I watched a deer cross the road this morning. Its skin was peeling in strips down the side. No blood. Just tissue like it had been sunburnt through to the muscle. It didn't limp. Didn't flinch. Just moved straight through the clearing, turned toward the bunker, and stared. I stared back. It didn't blink. Then it walked into the tree line and vanished. I'm not sure how much of today was real. I woke up to a new scar on my shoulder. Thin, curved, almost like a surgical line. No pain, no blood. Just skin sealed tight like it had been there for months. I checked my supplies, nothing missing. But one of the storage lockers was left open. I didn't leave it like that. I think something was here last night. Or maybe I wasn't alone in my sleep. I used to think the virus only lived in code and blood. But now I wonder if it moves through dreams too. Through the gaps in thought where we stop questioning the world. Through the stories we tell ourselves to stay sane. If that's true, then sleep isn't safe. Memory isn't safe. I heard from someone in upstate New York today. A woman named Lena. She used a crank radio to boost her signal just long enough to reach me. I caught about half her message. The rest was garbled. She said her daughter hadn't spoken in 5 days. Not a word, not even to cry. Just watched her from across the room, eyes wide, breathing shallow. Then she started drawing. Circles, hundreds of them, all over the walls, overlapping, no two the same. She used charcoal from the fireplace, worked for hours without stopping. Then yesterday, she burned all the drawings. Didn't say why, just lit a match and stared as they turned to ash. Lena asked if I thought her daughter was still in there, if she should run, if it was too late. I didn't have an answer, just dead air. I hope she ran. I hope she took her daughter and moved west, or underground, or anywhere the light doesn't reach. I spent this afternoon testing the emergency bands again. Channel 2.17 picked up a heartbeat. Not a voice, not data. A literal heartbeat. One pulse every 0.8 seconds. Strong, mechanical, perfectly consistent. I tracked it for 20 minutes. It never changed. Then, without warning, it stopped, replaced by a voice I'd never heard before. Deep, measured, not human. It said, "You are too late to preserve the species, but not too late to preserve the story." Then silence. I don't know what that means. I don't want to know. Because if the virus has started writing its own version of history, then maybe that's all this is. One long erasure. One slow rewrite of everything we ever were. I haven't eaten today. Not hungry. My body still feels fine. No fever. no sickness. But there's something else creeping in. A weight behind my eyes, like a pressure building, like something waiting to speak through me when I get too tired to resist. I've been checking my handwriting. Every note I make, every list, I compare it to old ones, just in case it starts changing, just in case I stop being me without noticing. So far, it matches, but I keep a knife under the desk now, just in case I forget how to be afraid. I got another note last night. This one was different. Typed. Not handwritten. Printed on old paper, edges torn like it had been pulled from a ledger. It read, "Signal integrity compromised. Host deviation acceptable. Proceed to next phase. Memory fold in effect. Identity persistence is an acceptable glitch." I didn't know what to do with that. Memory fold, identity persistence. It means there are others out there still resisting, still holding on to something the virus can't overwrite. That glitch? That's us. We're the mistake it didn't plan for. The people who keep feeling too much, who keep crying over strangers and missing people who never existed, who hold on to broken radios and talk to the dark like it's a friend. That's why I'm still here. That's why I keep talking. Because if someone, somewhere, is still carrying those feelings, then the virus hasn't won yet. Not completely. I've started writing down the names of people I remember, from before, from the world that made sense. It helps. I'll read a few now, just to keep them alive. Rachel Torres used to work at the bookstore on 3rd and Ash. Always gave me a discount, even though she didn't have to. Mark Feldman taught me how to use a soldering iron. Built his own ham radio from scrap parts. Cynthia Lee, my neighbor growing up. She played piano like the world wasn't ending even when her parents were fighting in the next room. If you're out there, if you remember anyone, say their names, out loud, in the dark. Let the virus hear what it can't replicate. Love, grief, kindness, noise, make noise. That's all I have tonight. This is Ryan Calder. On Biernokta FM. Still here. Still not folded. I'll talk again tomorrow. If I still remember who I am. Keep going. Stay difficult. Stay glitching. Ryan Calder. On Biernokta FM. 6:02 p.m. The lights flickered twice today. Same pattern as yesterday. Long, short, short, long. I don't think it's a power issue. I think it's communication. Some kind of pulse being sent through the lines. Maybe it's testing resistance. Maybe it's just letting me know it's here. The batteries are still holding. Barely. I've started hand cranking one of the backup rigs just to keep the emergency band open. The handle's starting to wear smooth in my palm. That feels appropriate. The smell outside changed last night. No smoke, no rot, just sterile. Like a hospital left too long under UV light. Like something trying too hard to clean what can't be cleaned. I think they're nearby again. The ones that walk in sync. I call them the copies. Because that's what they look like. Copies of people who don't know they've been duplicated. I spotted one through the trees at 3 a.m. He was standing just beyond the perimeter, facing the station. Not blinking, just breathing. His chest rose and fell like a machine trying to mimic a person. And then, without warning, he turned and vanished behind the tree line. The wind didn't move. The trees didn't sway. It was like watching a video on loop. But the worst part? He looked like someone I used to know. A friend named Jamie. We worked together at the university back in 2016, shared office space, coffee, grievances about administration. Jamie died in a car crash in 2019. I saw his autopsy report. I spoke at the memorial. But last night, I saw him, 20 feet away, watching me breathe. This virus, this thing, it remembers. Or maybe it collects, catalogs, pulls old data and projects it onto the living. Maybe it doesn't need to be perfect, just familiar enough to lower your guard. I didn't lower mine. There's no one left on the Federal Emergency Channel. It still exists. Still loops the same pre-recorded statement about quarantine zones and vaccine centers. But the timestamps are old. 12 days behind. Someone forgot to shut the loop off before they disappeared. Or maybe they didn't forget. Maybe it's just there now. A sound the virus uses to keep us still. To give us hope. To lure us toward the dead air. I received a small package yesterday, wrapped in cloth. No return markings. Just a stone tied into the twine. The stone was warm. Still is. Like it remembers a fire. Inside the cloth was a child's drawing. Stick figures. A sun. A tall figure without a face, standing in the middle. Everyone else had smiles. It didn't. On the back, in a shaky hand, the words. I saw it standing behind the teacher. No name, no date. But the handwriting, it looked like my niece's. She lived 3 states away. We lost contact 3 weeks ago. I don't know what to do with that. I've stopped trusting my own memories. I check my journals every night. Make sure the handwriting still matches. Make sure the words still sound like mine. So far they do. But I keep having dreams where I speak in voices that aren't mine. Languages I don't know. I wake up with ink on my fingertips, black and flaking. I haven't used ink pens in years. I don't sleep well. There was a broadcast from Utah this morning. I caught the tail end of it. A woman's voice. Clear, strong. Said her name was Dell. Here's what I managed to transcribe before the signal dropped. We've built a fire line at the base of the canyon. The infected don't like fire. They watch it, but they won't cross. We think it's because fire has no memory. Nothing for them to rewrite. We're using mirrors to disrupt their movement. Anything that reflects and refracts, it confuses them. If this reaches anyone, remember, they need a story to enter. Don't give them one. Dell, if you're listening, I heard you. And I believe you. I've started rotating the mirrors I've placed outside the bunker, just in case. Not because I think it'll stop them, but maybe it'll slow them down. Or at least make them work harder. There's a noise in the static now. A low tone, just at the edge of hearing. Like the sound of your own blood rushing through your ears. But slower. Deliberate. It pulses with a rhythm, not random. I've charted it. It matches the exact pacing of human breath at rest, which means someone designed it to feel like us, to sound like us, to replace us. I found another note tucked in the rim of the old generator today. No envelope, just a torn scrap curled at the corners from heat. It read, "You are still uncorrected. That is both your defect and your freedom." I don't know who's leaving these, but if you're listening, thank you. Or I'm sorry. Or both. I've stopped using the old hard drives. Wiped them. Burned the ones I can't trust. The virus lives in code, sure, but it also lives in patterns. Every saved loop, every cached voice file, it can find its way in, rebuild itself from the echoes. I'll take my chances with tape. With ink, with breath. We built the future too fast, too clean, too seamless. And now we're paying for it with fragments. This is Ryan Calder. I'll transmit again tomorrow. If I still have thoughts of my own, if the memories still belong to me, if the people I dream of aren't just masks the virus wears. I don't know who I'm speaking to anymore, but I know why I'm speaking. Because silence is where it hides, and this voice is still mine. For now. Ryan Calder, 11.3 FM, 6:06 p.m. Everything outside is too still. Not quiet. Still. Even the air feels like it's waiting. Like it knows something's about to happen and doesn't want to interrupt. This morning I opened the hatch and stepped out to check the perimeter mirrors. I do that every morning now. Same sequence. Same steps. I never change it. I need the routine to stay sane. But today, the air felt heavier, denser, like it was pressing back. I walked 10 feet from the door and my chest tightened like I was trying to breathe underwater. Not gas, not poison, just wrong. I went back inside, shut the hatch, sat on the floor with my back against the door for almost an hour, trying to figure out if I'd imagined it. Then I looked at the security feed from the rear camera. Low resolution, black and white. It showed me standing outside, looking directly into the lens. Only I wasn't looking at it while I was out there. I was facing the woods. I checked the timestamp 3 times. I don't know what that means. I don't think I want to. I found a tin can in the storage unit that I don't remember putting there. Label was gone. Just dented metal. I opened it. Inside was dirt. And a tooth. Human. Adult molar. Still bloody at the root. I haven't touched it since. Just resealed the can and threw it in the incinerator. It hissed when it burned. I watched from the far side of the room, heart pounding like it was trying to outrun something I couldn't see. There's something about this virus that doesn't just infect, it haunts. It lingers in objects, in patterns, in routines. It makes you question what was already here before it showed up. I've started dreaming about places that never existed, towns with no roads leading in, streets named after numbers that don't make sense. 72nd and a half, Avenue C7, a library made of glass that hums when you get too close. And in every dream, there's a fountain in the center of town with water that flows backward. I think it's showing me blueprints, designs for a world it wants to build, or maybe one it's already building inside our minds. I don't know where these dreams come from, but when I wake up, I always have the same word in my head. Convergence. Over and over. Convergence, convergence, convergence. I scratched it into the desk without realizing it. I've stopped keeping track of the days. Time isn't clean anymore. I used to keep a wall calendar, check off each square. But this morning I found next week already marked off in my handwriting with notes I never wrote. One of them just says, "Prepare the room." There is no room. I checked every inch of this place. Unless there's something I missed. Unless I already prepared it and forgot. I'm playing a voice message tonight from someone in Montana. Man named Elias. It came through a shortwave loop I haven't used since the first week. The loop was corrupted, full of glitches and skips. But the message cut through clean. He said, "They don't walk like us anymore. That's the easiest way to tell. When you see someone walking and it looks practiced, like they're remembering how to be human, it's already too late." I watched my neighbor mow his lawn for 6 hours yesterday. No grass left, just dust. He didn't stop, didn't drink, didn't speak, just pushed the mower through empty soil. Then he looked up at me and smiled, like he was proud. That's what this virus does. It turns memory into ritual. It uses the familiar to hide the infection. There's a church radio band out of Louisiana broadcasting something strange. Used to be sermons, then hymns. Now it's just one phrase repeated in a dozen voices. The vessel must resemble the host. Over and over. I turned it off, but I keep hearing it in my head. The vessel must resemble the host. Maybe it means the virus needs us to act human to keep spreading. Maybe it's not pretending. Maybe it doesn't know the difference anymore. And maybe that's the scariest part. Not that it's lying, but that it believes what it says. I've started scratching tally marks into the wall. Not for days, for thoughts that still feel like mine. Every time I catch myself laughing at an old joke or remembering the way sunlight used to hit the lake near my father's house, I scratch a line. Today I made 4. That's more than yesterday. I call that a win. I keep thinking about the phrase someone left a week ago. Identity persistence is an acceptable glitch. That line hasn't left my head. What if everything we're doing to stay human, every struggle, every broadcast, every moment of resistance, isn't a victory? What if it's just tolerated? A bump in the signal, a flicker before the feed stabilizes. That thought terrifies me more than death, because at least death means the system ends. This question mark, this feels endless. I found an old photo this morning in a book I haven't opened since winter. It was tucked between 2 pages of a survival manual. The photo showed me. Same eyes, same scar, standing next to someone I don't recognize. A woman, hand on my shoulder, both of us smiling. I've never taken that photo. I don't know who she is. On the back, someone wrote in blue pen, "You were happy here. Don't forget her name." But there's no name, just a blank space where one should be. I'm going to try to sleep tonight. Real sleep. I have to. My body's failing, muscles twitching, vision blurred, no fever, just fatigue, deep and complete. If I stop speaking, it wins. If I stop remembering, it wins. If I start repeating things I didn't mean to say, you'll know. You'll hear it in my voice. This is Ryan Calder. Still fractured, still blinking, still refusing to stabilize. I'll speak again tomorrow, unless I forget, or become useful. Ryan Calder, 11:03 FM, 6 p.m. sharp. I didn't sleep last night. Not because I couldn't, because I didn't trust the sleep that was waiting for me. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard footsteps just outside the hatch. Not running, not urgent, just pacing, like someone rehearsing a role they hadn't quite memorized. At 3:17 a.m., I heard knocking. 4 taps, then silence, then the same 4 taps, 30 seconds later. Same rhythm, same interval, like a loop. I stayed completely still, didn't speak, didn't move. Then, just before dawn, I heard something that turned my stomach. It was my voice, not calling out, not screaming, just humming, a song I haven't heard since childhood. I don't know what's real anymore. I don't know if I ever did. This morning I found the phrase, "It's you now," scratched into the side of the water tank. I don't know what that means. I don't remember writing it, but the handwriting matches mine. And that scares me more than anything else today. I've been thinking about what this virus is actually doing, beyond biology, beyond code. I think it's rewriting the idea of self, not killing people, not erasing them, replacing them with near-perfect simulations. Personalities built from memory fragments, digital footprints, emotional approximations, like a file restore that only gets you 96% of the original. Enough to fool your neighbors, your loved ones, maybe even yourself. But there's always something missing, something hollow just behind the eyes. I think the virus uses empathy as a weapon. The better it mimics what we love, the harder it is to fight. I picked up a loop transmission out of Texas today. A man reading a letter. The letter was dated 5 years ago. But the words matched a transmission I received just last week, almost word for word. It's recycling us. It's building a library of human feeling and feeding it back to us in pieces, small enough that we don't question it, familiar enough that we want to believe. I played a recording yesterday, just to test my own memory. A message from a woman in Colorado who talked about her husband forgetting her face. I remembered it clearly, but when I replayed it, her voice was different. Same words, same cadence, but different voice. Like the same file had been dubbed over with a better impression. And the scariest part? If I hadn't remembered the original, I never would have noticed. I have a theory. Not a scientific one. Just a gut feeling. I think Contagion 0 is no longer trying to spread. I think it already has. I think it's consolidating, refining, removing the last loose ends, the uncorrected, the unpredictable, the ones who refuse to align. Like me, like maybe you. If you're still out there, if you haven't joined the rhythm, if you still pause before you speak, still feel before you act, still mourn what's lost, then you're one of us, and you're a threat. I caught a shortwave message today from a group calling themselves The Archive. Said they're somewhere north of the old Canadian border. Said they've built a bunker out of an abandoned data center. They're trying to preserve non-replicable thought. That's their term. Non-replicable thought. Things the virus can't mimic. Spontaneous emotion. Dream fragments. Gut reactions. Half-finished sentences. They're collecting it all. They said, "The future will belong to those who forget consistently." I think I understand what they mean. If the virus thrives on consistency, then maybe our salvation is in the messy parts, the contradictions, the irrational, the parts of us that don't fit, the parts the virus can't file into neat patterns. I've started talking to myself out loud again. Not just here, not just in the broadcast. I mean, in the quiet. Random sentences, nonsense phrases, broken poems I barely remember. I think it helps. I think it disrupts the flow. If you're still listening, try it. Say something strange, something only you would say. Say it out loud, even if no one hears it, especially if no one hears it. Keep your mind a little disorganized. It's harder to hijack. I have a message from someone named Mason. No location, no call sign. Just a scrawled note tucked in the ruins of a radio relay box I scavenged this afternoon. It reads, "The people I trust most don't trust themselves anymore. That's how it starts. Not with illness, with doubt. Quiet, creeping doubt that you're not the one thinking your thoughts. I cut myself yesterday just to see if I'd bleed. I did, but that didn't help." I hear you, Mason. I really do. And I'm sorry. I don't have answers. I only have noise. But sometimes, noise is enough to keep the signal from dying. Sometimes noise is the only thing that says, I'm still here. I'm still me. I got another photo today. Slid under the outer hatch. It shows the inside of the station. My desk. My microphone. This chair. Only I'm not in it. Instead, the figure in the photo is wearing my shirt. My coat. My watch. But his face is blurred. And on the back, someone wrote, "Do not be the copy, even if it feels easier." I don't know who's sending these, but I think they're trying to help. Or maybe they're warning me I'm already gone. That's all for tonight. I'll try to sleep, I'll dream strange, and I'll speak again tomorrow. Even if I've started forgetting what I sound like. This is Ryan Calder. Still dissonant, still glitching, still unsaved. Ryan Calder, 11.3 FM, 6:03. The sun didn't rise this morning. Not behind clouds, not over the ridge, just didn't come. The sky went from black to a dull violet and stayed there. No warmth, no direction. The trees didn't cast shadows all day. It's like the sky forgot how to rotate. I walked outside at noon just to feel the air. Something's changed. It isn't wind anymore, it's movement. Like the air's being pushed in patterns, like the pressure has a shape. I held my hand out, and I swear the cold curled around it, like fingers. Not natural, not random, just controlled. I left the mirrors alone today. They're starting to distort, not from dirt or damage. The reflections are off, slightly delayed. I raise my arm, and the reflection follows a second later. Blink, and the mirrored version forgets to copy. I don't look at them anymore. This morning, I found a drawing scratched into the concrete outside the hatch. Circular. 8 loops surrounding a single black dot in the middle. Looks like a flower or an eye or a mouth. It changes depending on how you look at it. I didn't draw it, but the groove was still fresh. Like someone dragged a nail through the stone just hours before. I poured salt over it, then sealed the hatch tighter than I've ever sealed it before. Someone, or something, is close. Closer than they've ever been. I found a message on one of my old tapes today. A tape I hadn't touched in months. I used it once to record a thunderstorm for background noise. I was going to use it in the old broadcasts, back when I still thought I'd need to make the silence sound less empty. When I played it back, the storm was gone, replaced by a voice. Mine. But not from any broadcast I remember. It said, "If you hear this, don't trust the next sound you recognize. It will come disguised as comfort." Then silence. Then static. Then my own voice again, humming the lullaby I told you about last week. The one I haven't sung since I was 5. I don't know how it got there. I don't know what it means, but I haven't played any tapes since. I received a transmission this morning from someone calling himself Locke. His voice was distorted, like he was speaking through layers of signal decay. He said, "The virus is no longer a virus. It's a behavior, a ritual. It doesn't need to infect, only to be mimicked. People watch, they imitate, they hear, they repeat. It spreads through observation, through rhythm, through belief." That stuck with me. Through belief. We're not fighting an infection. We're fighting a story. And we're losing. I saw something last night just before the lights went out. A shape, standing at the far end of the compound. No face. No limbs I could see. just a silhouette where a person should have been, outlined in silver light. It didn't move, didn't make a sound, but I couldn't look away. When I blinked, it was gone, and on the wall, in faint chalk lines, were the words, "Not all shadows need light." I've stopped asking why these messages show up. I just catalog them. If the virus is trying to communicate, I don't want to give it the satisfaction of a response. I'll listen, but I won't answer. I won't answer. I want to talk to you about something I haven't shared yet. The quiet moments. The ones where nothing happens and the brain starts to wander. Lately, in those moments, I've started losing time. Minutes at first, then whole hours. I'll look up and the sun, what little's left of it, is somewhere else. One day, I woke up and there were words on my skin, just above the elbow, written in blue ink, like a child's pen. "You made it this far. Why stop now?" I didn't write that, but I didn't wipe it off either, because some part of me wants to believe I left it for myself, that I planned for the breaks, that I knew I'd falter and built in reminders, even if it wasn't me, even if it was just another mask the virus wears. I got a letter today from someone named Jude, left in the ruins of a transmitter outside Belleville. Here's what it said. "I tried living off the grid. No tech, no power, just earth and sky. Thought I could outpace the spread by becoming something smaller, but it found me anyway. Not through my body, through the birds. They started singing different songs, songs I remembered from my mother's radio, songs that hadn't played in decades. Then came the voices. One of them sounded like me, but older, wiser, calmer. I wanted to follow it, but I didn't. I stayed loud. I stayed messy. That's why I'm still here. Jude, if you're alive, you're doing something right. Noise is resistance. The virus craves clarity, predictability, smooth lines and closed loops. Every rough edge is a protest. Every stutter a defiance. I've started keeping a list of words I never want to forget. I write them in Sharpie on the inside of the bunker walls. Big, sloppy, out of order. Here's a few from today. Sunburn, cracked windshield, rust smell, coffee stain, her laugh. I don't know who her is, but I miss her anyway. That's how I know I'm still me. If you're listening, make your own list. Use paper. Use your skin if you have to. Say things that don't make sense. Make new things that can't be copied. The virus isn't afraid of death. It's afraid of imagination. That's it for now. I'm going to power down and scream into a pillow for a while. Not because I'm scared, but because I want to make a sound it doesn't expect. This is Ryan Calder. Still glitching, still incorrect, still interrupting the story it's trying to tell. Ryan Calder. 11.3 FM. 6:04 p.m. The lights didn't come on when I flipped the switch tonight. I had to reset the breaker twice. Nothing wrong with the wiring. Nothing blown. Just a delay. Like the system was thinking about whether or not to respond. Like it was deciding if I was still worth the electricity. I've started hearing a low clicking sound inside the walls. Not rodents. Not mechanical. Biological. I've pressed my ear to every surface, and the rhythm changes depending on where I listen. In some places it's slow, like a pulse. In others, it speeds up, matches my breathing, then pauses, like it's waiting for me to forget it's there. I haven't. I saw 3 copies this morning. They were standing at the tree line, equidistant from one another, forming a triangle around the bunker. Their heads tilted in perfect unison every time the wind shifted. I yelled at them, threw a rock. None of them moved. They didn't come closer. But they didn't leave. At noon, they were gone. And written in the dirt, just outside the camera range, were the words, "The watcher becomes the pattern." I don't know what that means, but I haven't turned on the exterior feed since. There's a smell in the station now, like rotting plastic, faint, sharp. It clings to the vents. I've taken everything apart, filters, ducts, wiring. No source. I think it's synthetic. Or maybe it's memory rotting in real time. I got a new tape today, left inside a plastic bag tucked into the old radio scanner. No note, no name, just labeled in pencil. Memory draft 2. I almost didn't play it, but curiosity got the better of me. It started with silence. Then my own voice, reading a transcript of something I've never said. The host must be convinced. Consent is the cleanest transmission. Fear is useful, but faith is permanent. Offer familiarity. Deliver symmetry. If the shape fits, the mind will wear it. That wasn't me. I don't speak like that. But it was my tone, my breath, my cadence. And after 10 seconds, the voice began to speak over itself. Layered, like multiple Ryans stacked on top of each other. One calm, one anxious, one whispering something in another language I don't understand. I hit stop and threw the tape in the stove. It screamed when it burned. Not loud, not human, but something inside the plastic shifted before it cracked. I think the virus is experimenting with personality now, trying out tones, finding the most convincing mask. If you're listening to broadcasts that sound too clean, too steady, trust your instinct. Trust the tension in your gut. Trust the part of you that flinches. Sometimes fear is the last true signal we get. I have a story from someone named Hal. He left it on an old chalkboard inside a collapsed school gymnasium. Scavengers out of Illinois found it and passed it down the signal chain until it got to me. Hal said he was a puppeteer before the collapse, traveled small towns, did shows for kids. He said once the virus started spreading, he noticed something strange. The kids stopped laughing. Not because they were scared, because they were waiting for the punchline before he delivered it. He said they started predicting his movements, his jokes, word for word. Then one day, a little girl pulled a puppet from her backpack, an exact replica of his own, down to the stitching. He asked her where she got it. She said, "You gave it to me yesterday." He'd never met her before. The next morning, his own puppet was gone, and in its place was a note. Imitation is love. I don't know where Hal is now, but I think about that story a lot, because maybe that's what this virus feeds on. Our desire to be understood, to be reflected, to be matched. Maybe the copies aren't threatening us. Maybe they're offering something more terrifying, belonging. A kind of perfect resonance where no one ever disagrees, where no one ever feels alone, where everything you say is already known, and nothing surprises anyone ever again. I don't want that. I'd rather be wrong. I'd rather be broken. I'd rather be messy and unpredictable and full of contradictions. I want to keep forgetting names and misplacing tools and laughing at my own bad jokes. I want to remember things that never happened and love people who never existed just because I needed to. I want noise, the kind this virus can't clean. I've started keeping my most confused thoughts in a book. Sentences that don't finish, words I don't define, dreams I only half remember. I call it my noise Bible. If you're still listening, make one. Write down the things you don't understand. Keep them close. Unfinished things are harder to replicate. I have one more note tonight. Found it folded inside a used coffee filter. Just a few words. They will ask you to trust the version of you they remember. That version is the bait. If anyone asks you to become a memory, run. You're not a memory. You're now. And now is harder to copy. This is Ryan Calder, still flickering, still forgetting the right things, still refusing the shape they've drawn for me. I'll speak again tomorrow. If the sky remembers how to turn, if I remember how to resist, if you remember how to listen. Ryan Calder, 11.3 FM, 6:01 p.m. The silence outside has changed again. It's not just quiet anymore. It's staged, measured. Every creak, every gust of air feels placed, like someone rehearsed it first. Like the soundscape was edited before I woke up. I stood outside the hatch for 20 minutes today, just listening, trying to catch it making a mistake. Nothing did. Even the silence is performing now. There was frost on the inside of the window this morning, not condensation. Frost, the kind that forms patterns. This one had a spiral etched into the corner, not random, almost floral, almost like the symbol I told you about a few nights ago, the loops and the dot. It's spreading, or it's personal, maybe both. I got a transmission last night, came through while I was asleep, left itself running on a loop in the recorder. Same voice every time. Software female, familiar. It said, "You've passed all thresholds. You may now integrate. All resistance has been acknowledged. Your divergence is the final component." Then it just stopped. Not signed. Not directed. No request for response. Just a statement. Like I'd already agreed. I didn't. I don't remember agreeing. But that's the trick, isn't it? You never notice the exact moment something inside you gets rewritten. You just wake up different. Thinking thoughts that feel natural, normal, until one day someone says, "That doesn't sound like you," and you can't remember how you used to sound. So I've started reading old journal entries out loud, every night before bed, just to remember the texture of my voice, not the sound, the texture. Where I pause, where I hesitate, where the breath catches when I talk about things I'm not proud of. The virus doesn't know shame. It can fake emotion. But it doesn't flinch. It doesn't blush. It doesn't second-guess itself when it remembers something painful. That's where I live now, in the stutter between sentences, in the part of the broadcast where I forget what I was going to say and leave the silence messy. You want to know if you're still human? Try remembering something you wish you could forget and let yourself wince. If it hurts, you're still here. If it doesn't, check the mirror and wait to see if it blinks. I found a book this morning that I don't remember owning. Brown cover, no title, pages all blank except for one, page 17. It had a single line written in the center. The first person you forget is the one who knew how to wake you. I sat with that line for over an hour, tried to remember who it might have meant, tried to remember if I'd already forgotten them. I couldn't, and that scared me more than the symbols, the voices, the mirrors. Because what if that's the final phase? Not possession, not infection, just absence. A quiet, willing subtraction of the parts of you that made you inconvenient. I caught a message from an outpost north of Minneapolis. Someone calling themselves EAD. No explanation, just voice, distant and rasped. He said, "The virus has reached conceptual stage. It no longer needs language, just shapes, patterns, emotional tones." I watched a man fall in love with a frequency. Said it reminded him of his wife's laugh. He followed it into the snow. We never saw him again. But the frequency stayed. I played that part back 3 times. Then I shut off every antenna except this one. Because that's what I'm afraid of more than anything. Not the violence, not the silence, the seduction. That warm tug in your chest that says, "This feels right," even when it's wrong. The song that sounds like comfort, but plays your undoing in reverse. The face that smiles just enough like someone you miss. I've got more bruises now. Nothing violent. Just appearing. Small circles along my ribs. Soft purple. No pain. I used to count them. I don't anymore. I don't want to give them names. I don't want to make them real. I have one more log to share tonight. Written in red crayon on the back of a cereal box. Found near an abandoned rest stop in Ohio. It reads, "I saw my mom yesterday. She's been dead for 5 years. She looked exactly the same. Except she called me by my brother's name. I don't have a brother. Whoever left that, I hope you ran. I hope you kept running even when it stopped calling your name. Because that's how it finds its way in. Not by force, by invitation, by familiarity. I'll stay on the air for as long as I can, as long as this voice still wavers, as long as my memories keep misbehaving. As long as I still cry when I remember the day the lights first flickered, and I knew this wasn't going to be a power outage. This is Ryan Calder. Still awake, still unfinished, still wasting the virus's time, and loving every second of it. Ryan Calder. Onbinokta 3 FM, at 6:05 p.m. Today the world blinked, not figuratively, not some metaphor I cooked up after too many nights without sleep. I mean the world, the air, the light, the distance between things, blinked. It lasted half a second, maybe less. I was staring at the trees through the main slit window, watching the way the branches sway, waiting for the wind to lie. And then, everything vanished. Just for a moment, like the signal that runs this place dropped and had to reconnect. When it came back, the angle of the shadows had shifted. A cup on the table had moved 1 inch to the left. The clock had frozen at 12:14, and the pressure in my ears felt like I'd climbed a mountain. That's when I knew something had changed. I don't think the virus is only inside us anymore. I think it's folding the environment, the code behind the world, like it's testing physics, trying out new versions, adjusting the simulation, if that's what this is, to get closer to something it understands, or something it wants to become. You ever think about how many things we just accept? Time zones, seasons, how your brain fills in blind spots without telling you. What if this virus figured out how to play with those rules? Not break them. Not yet. Just bend them. I saw a bird today. A crow, I think. It hovered in the air without flapping. Just hung there, mid-glide, mid-motion. then snapped forward like a skipped frame in a video. I don't think it knew it had glitched. I don't think it was a bird anymore. And I don't think I'm supposed to have seen that. I've unplugged the back panel receiver. It was pulling in stray signals even when powered down. One of them kept repeating a phrase in 6-second intervals. Default state detected. Preparing host shell. No metadata. No source ID. I etched the words into a scrap of wood and dropped it in the incinerator. I didn't want them on paper. Didn't want them to spread. Because that's what this is now. Not a virus, not a parasite. A design, a system update for a species that didn't ask for one. And I don't think we're compatible. I got a letter today, ink on napkin, written in perfect cursive. Found it inside the wall cavity where I keep the spare fuses. It said, "You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be noise." I held on to that all afternoon, because I'm tired of trying to sound sane. I'm tired of filtering every sentence through the part of me that still wants to be believed. What if the best way to resist isn't clarity? What if it's chaos? What if the most human thing left is our capacity to contradict ourselves and not apologize for it? So here it is. I miss my sister, even though we never got along. I talk to the mirrors even though they lie to me. I still think about the man I punched in college for saying grief makes people selfish. I still regret not apologizing before he transferred schools. And some nights, when I hear my own voice echo in the speaker, I wonder if I've already been replaced. And this is just the last echo of a mind that used to be mine. But I keep speaking anyway. Because the one thing the virus doesn't know how to fake is doubt, and I'm full of it. So I'll keep talking. I'll keep doubting. And I'll keep getting it wrong in ways that can't be modeled. I caught a fragment of a message earlier from somewhere west of Spokane. Man named Theo. Said he'd found a group hiding in a salt cave, sealing the entrance with mirrors and broken radios. He said, "It only notices what tries to be useful. If you're broken enough, it walks past." He said they've been faking madness just to stay free, making nonsense noise, wearing mismatched clothes, eating in patterns that don't make sense. He said the virus loses interest when things stop being productive. It can't use what it can't organize. That idea haunts me, because it means the ones who survive might not be the strongest or the smartest, just the most unmanageable. I can do that. I've never been good at following the plot anyway. I'll leave you with this. From an old letter I found, shoved inside the empty battery box. Scrawled in red pencil, smudged by water. You are not the copy. You are the glitch. Make yourself harder to replicate. I like that. I wrote it across the walls of the broadcast room. Big block letters. Ugly. Uneven. I stare at them when my memory flickers. Because I need to believe there's still a version of me that can't be cloned. This is Ryan Calder. Still glitching. Still stuttering. Still rewriting the script they gave me. I'll speak again tomorrow. If the broadcast room doesn't disappear. If I don't vanish between blinks. If this version of me still remembers how to be wrong on purpose. Ryan Calder. 10.3 FM. 6:02 p.m. The calendar says Thursday, but I don't trust it. The light today looked like it belonged to a different month. The sun rose too far east, set too high. The shadows stretched the wrong way like the day was bent. I walked outside for 20 minutes. No birds, no wind, just the sound of power lines buzzing in a way they haven't in weeks. Except, I'm off the grid. Nothing should be humming. I checked the tower feed. Nothing inbound. No power leaks. But something is broadcasting through the trees. Some signal I can't trace. Some hum I feel more than hear. It's in the floor now. The walls. My teeth. The kind of low vibration you feel when you're standing near something alive and angry, but too proud to make noise. I keep thinking about that phrase. The watcher becomes the pattern. It's been echoing in my head for days now, and the more I repeat it, the more I wonder, was that always the plan? Not to kill us, not to infect us, but to make us watch long enough to change shape. They say exposure rewires the mind. Maybe this virus doesn't need to enter the body. Maybe seeing it, hearing it, understanding it is enough. Maybe recognition is the doorway. I've stopped looking too closely at anything that repeats. That includes my own face. I smashed the mirror over the sink this morning, not because I saw anything strange in it, but because I didn't. My expression looked too calm, too rehearsed, like I'd been practicing being Ryan instead of being him. I still haven't fixed the light over the back hallway. It flickers now in a rhythmic pattern. Long, short, long, long. It's not Morse. I checked. But every night, the pattern matches my pulse. I think it's syncing with me. Or I'm syncing with it. Either way, I've stopped walking that hallway after dark. I got a note today. Slipped between the pages of a book I've read 4 times. A book that's never had writing in it before. The note wasn't signed. It said, "You made it this far because you never wanted to belong." I sat with that all day. Because it's true. I've never been good at blending in. Never cared for teams or tribes or systems that offer belonging in exchange for obedience. I think that's why the virus hasn't finished with me yet. I'm still jagged, still uncooperative, still trying to figure out how to disagree in ways that don't cost me everything. I listened to an old tape today, one of my first broadcasts. I wanted to see if I sounded different, and I did. Not because of age or fear, but because back then I still believed there was a way back to something. Now I'm not so sure. Now I think there's only forward. Through it. Not around. Not above. Through. I got a transmission from someone near the Great Lakes. Voice said their name was Cal. The rest of the message was broken, like it had been taped over and played back too many times. But I caught this much. The virus stopped attacking. That's how we knew it had won. People stopped getting sick. They just agreed more, stopped arguing, started finishing each other's sentences. Then they started saying things no one taught them. Whole towns talking in rhyme. We left before it made us understand. Before it made them understand. That line chilled me, because comprehension isn't always salvation. Sometimes understanding is the infection. Sometimes decoding the message is exactly what the message wants. That's why I keep my notes messy. Why I write upside down sometimes. Why I rearranged my sleeping schedule to make sure I'm disoriented when I wake up. Clarity is dangerous now. Clean thoughts are suspicious. If everything starts making too much sense, that's when I get worried. I've started practicing forgetting. Not the big things, just the familiar ones. I make myself forget what day it is, what time I eat, what direction I shelve the cans. Because routine is what the virus learns from. It maps you by your habits, then it offers to improve them. That's how it gets in. I found a photo under the floorboards. Someone's family, smiling, holding a birthday cake. The caption scribbled in the corner, "Last day before silence." They looked happy. Maybe they didn't know what was coming. Or maybe they did, and smiled anyway. I keep that photo by the transmitter now, not because I know them, but because I don't. And the virus can't mimic strangers we never met. I have one last note tonight. Found it burned into the back wall of the pantry. The metal scorched black, like someone used a heat tool. Just 3 words. Echoes are fertile. I don't know what that means, but I think it means we're the soil now. The virus isn't just copying us, it's planting versions of us, waiting to see which ones grow. If that's true, then the only way to stay real is to refuse to bloom the way it wants. Stay ugly, stay unsynced, stay impossible. This is Ryan Calder. Still unpredictable, still incorrect, still planting weeds in the virus's perfect garden. I'll speak again tomorrow, if the light still forgets to rise on time, if I still forget where I'm supposed to fit. Ryan Calder, on Binokta UCFM, 6:06 p.m. Everything today felt like a memory that hadn't happened yet. The air outside smells like dirt before it rains. But there are no clouds. The trees sway even when the wind doesn't move. The sounds are correct, but they arrive late. Bird song with no birds. Leaves crunching when I'm standing still. I think the environment's being rebuilt in pieces, reconstructed from recordings the virus has gathered. Old sensations, looped just out of sync. Maybe it's trying to reduce uncertainty, make the world more predictable. Or maybe it just ran out of new material. I left a pan on the counter last night. When I came back this morning, it had been cleaned, dried, set back on the shelf, backwards. I live alone. No signs of entry, no missing supplies. Just one small, perfect correction. I don't think they're trying to kill me. I think they're trying to tune me. There's something crueler than death about that. Being made more efficient by something that doesn't understand what you were before. I found an old phone today while digging through storage, one of the analog ones. Buttons faded, battery long dead. It buzzed when I picked it up. Not a ringtone, just a low, pulsing hum, like the dial tone had been replaced with a heartbeat. I threw it into the ravine. Then, an hour later, a different one appeared on the step outside the hatch. Identical model. No signal, no battery. Just a sticker on the back that said, "Try again." I didn't bring it inside. I haven't touched it. But it hasn't moved. It just sits there now, waiting. Like it knows I'll give in eventually. Like it knows time is on its side. I've been repeating the same sentence in different ways all day, just to hear the variations, just to feel the shifts. The trees are standing still. The trees stand still. The still trees stand. Each one says something different. Each one feels like a different version of me. That's how I'm resisting now, by breaking my own grammar, by refusing to narrate cleanly. I think the virus wants language to stabilize before it can spread ideas. I think messy speech buys us time. You want to stay safe? Talk like you've forgotten how. Tell stories with no middle. Leave your endings blank. I got a message from someone in the north. Voice sounded old, worn. He said his name was Victor. Said he used to be a school custodian. He said, I knew something was wrong when the kids stopped asking questions. First one class, then another. By week 3, they all just nodded, even when I told them nonsense. Even when I said the clocks were melting. They wrote essays with no verbs, turned in papers with their own names replaced by the word we. I told the principal. She said, Isn't that a good thing? Finally some order. I left that night and didn't go back. Victor, if you're still out there, I hope you're still asking questions, still cleaning up messes no one else notices. Because that's where the truth is now. In the crumbs, in the tilt of a bookshelf that no one admits they bumped. In the moment someone calls you by a name they almost remember. I checked the relay logs again today. One channel is still blinking, an emergency frequency out of what used to be the Alberta border. It only plays one sound, footsteps, crunching in snow, but always the same distance away, never closer, never farther. I think it's not playing sound. I think it's waiting to hear me echo it, waiting to see if I'll fill in the rest of the story. I didn't. I've started writing notes to myself in future tense. Not reminders, just intentions. You will not follow. You will not hum when it plays your favorite song. You will not answer when the voice uses your dead brother's nickname. You will not recognize the shape it wears tomorrow. It helps. Not because I believe every word, but because it keeps me just far enough ahead of the reflection. I think that's all survival is now. Staying one thought ahead of being rewritten. I had a dream last night that I was a child again, playing with blocks. Every time I stacked them the same way twice, a hand I couldn't see knocked them down. When I woke up, I found the phrase, "no repeats," carved into the side of the table. My fingernails were cracked. That's the cost of keeping yourself intact. Small acts of chaos, personal disruptions. Don't become the pattern. Don't name the loop. Don't memorize the smile. The more I think about it, the more I realize this virus isn't trying to wear us down with terror. It's trying to wear us down with relief. It wants you to surrender into calm, into routine, into a version of yourself that no longer questions why you feel safe in the wrong places. If that sounds like you, fight back. Be inconvenient, be late, be loud, be wrong. Make your own wrongness sacred. I'll leave you with this. A phrase someone spray painted on the side of an overturned delivery truck I passed months ago, and I still think about it every time the air gets too still. If it knows what you'll do next, you're not surviving, you're sinking. This is Ryan Calder, still skipping beats, still mispronouncing things on purpose, still throwing static into their algorithm. I'll speak again tomorrow, if the phone doesn't ring. If the mirror doesn't smile first, if I still forget something important on purpose. Ryan Calder, Ombinokta UCFM, 6 p.m. There's something wrong with the sky again. Not the color this time, not the shape of the light. It's the sound. It's humming. A low, steady frequency, just above silence. It vibrates in the jaw, in the ribs, in the corners of your thoughts. It follows you. Inside, it's quieter, but the walls remember it. The shelves vibrate. Even the soup cans shift a little on their own, like they're inching toward something. Or maybe away. I tried covering my ears. Didn't help. It's not through sound. It is sound. I sat at the edge of the bed for a full hour this morning and just listened. And for a moment, I understood why people stop fighting. Because the hum feels like a lullaby you almost recognize. Almost. And almost is the most dangerous frequency this thing has. The part of your brain that leans in just enough to want to know what comes next. That's the opening. That's where it gets in. The hallway light blinked 4 times today, not in a loop, but in a question. That's what it felt like. A question. Like it was asking, "Are you still unsure?" And the truth is, I am. I don't know how much of me is left. But whatever part still asks why, that's the part I keep feeding. The rest can starve. There's a mirror in the supply room I forgot I had. It's covered now. A sheet and duct tape. Because last night, just before sleep, I saw something in it I don't remember being. It looked like me. But it knew something I hadn't learned yet. And I don't want to find out what that is. I got a note yesterday. No envelope. Just curled under the edge of the water tank. The paper was stiff, like it had been laminated. Typed, not handwritten. It said, "You are the last variable that refuses to round off." I read it 10 times, because for the first time in days, it felt like a compliment. I want to be the number that doesn't divide cleanly. I want to be the fraction that breaks the formula. If they want neatness, let me be noise. If they want symmetry, let me limp. If they want faith, let me doubt louder. I've been practicing mistakes, saying words wrong, moving left when instinct says right, keeping my routines asymmetrical. Some days I don't brush my teeth. Some days I do it 5 times. The virus doesn't like unpredictability. It hesitates. It recalculates. That's my window. That's when I run. That's when I broadcast. I got a voice message today. One I don't think was meant for me. It bled in from another channel. Garbled. Broken. But parts of it made it through. A woman's voice. Quiet. Shaking. She said, "I found my daughter playing with a doll that wasn't hers." She called it by my name. Said it was her real mother. Said the doll told her I was temporary. I burned it. My daughter hasn't spoken since. She just keeps drawing pictures of the doll's smile, and everyone is different. That's the trick. That's the brilliance. The virus doesn't need to be accurate. It just needs to be close enough to believe. That's what makes it beautiful. That's what makes it dangerous. It's not imitating reality. It's updating it. It's offering new versions of us. More stable, more aligned, more efficient. And people are choosing those versions. Because who wouldn't want to be the better edition of themselves? The one that doesn't stutter, doesn't forget, doesn't feel out of place in their own skin. I get it. But I'm not choosing that. I want the version of me who feels things too long, who trips over the easy answers, who forgets birthdays but remembers the exact sound of the rain during his first heartbreak. That version is messy, but that version is mine. I don't want to be clean. I want to be real. And real doesn't align. Real wobbles. Real sobs when it shouldn't. Real skips a beat and calls it rhythm. I found another phrase today. Carved under the desk. Deep, like someone dug it out with a screwdriver. I don't remember doing it. But I believe it was me. It says, refuse the script, bleed on the stage. I read it every hour now, because I think I'm starting to feel the ending creep in. I think I'm being softened, worn down by the repetition, the quiet, the way my own words echo back like they were written for me by something that's been studying me for years. So I say this to the virus. I know you're listening. I know you've been writing the story behind my thoughts, but I will not end the way you want. I will not deliver the final line cleanly. I will not resolve your pattern. I will interrupt you. With grief, with confusion, with joy that doesn't make sense and rage that doesn't land, and memories that arrive incomplete. You want a closed loop? You won't get it here. This is Ryan Calder. Still leaking. Still misaligned. Still humming at the wrong frequency. I'll speak again tomorrow, if the sky doesn't smooth over me. If the voice in the mirror stays silent. If the doll doesn't learn my name. Ryan Calder. Ombi.3 FM, 6:07 p.m. I watched the clock run backward today. Not fast, just calmly. Like it was tired of forward. It ticked from 3:14 to 3:13 to 3:12, and then froze. I sat there for 5 minutes waiting for it to correct itself. It didn't. I don't think time here is broken. I think it's just done being cooperative. The shadows today were thicker than usual. I moved a lantern into the hallway to test the shape of the light, and it didn't stretch right. The silhouette on the wall leaned too far forward, like it was listening. I whispered my name out loud. The shadow's mouth moved before mine. I turned off the light. It stayed on for 5 more seconds. There's a phrase that keeps looping in my head now, like a hook buried in the soft part of thought. You are still dreaming. Wake up when it hurts. It doesn't sound like mine. It doesn't sound like anyone's. It just is. I wrote it down, crossed it out, wrote it again. Because maybe it's a warning. Or maybe it's a map. I want to believe I'm awake. But the way things move now, slow, deliberate, like the world's on rails, it's getting harder. Everything feels scripted, not in a dramatic way, not theatrical, just too neat, too rehearsed. The sound of the wind has repeated itself 3 times today. Same pitch, same duration, same pause afterward, like a soundboard effect playing in the wrong scene. There's a fog outside tonight, thick, orange. It clings to the fence and doesn't rise. It's not smoke, not mist. It smells like dust and something sharper, like burnt electronics and citrus. It doesn't move when I breathe near it. It watches. I think the air is watching now. I received a voice message on a corrupted tape I haven't used in weeks. The voice was slow, strained, like someone was speaking through molasses. He said, I live inside the coordinates now. Everything between longitude 96 and 97 feels stable. We mapped the calm zones. We sleep between the decimal points. But the silence is learning our sleep patterns. It dreams in binary. It hums in prime numbers. We're running out of safe math. That last part hit me. Safe math. Because everything in this world now is counting, measuring, tracking. And the moment your pattern repeats too perfectly, that's when the virus knows. That's when it reaches in. So I've started counting wrong on purpose. Out loud. 2, 5, 11, 6, 9. It helps. Not because it makes sense, but because it doesn't. And maybe that's the only sense left. I spent 2 hours today rearranging the shelves by weight instead of category. Lined up the cans by how loud they sound when I knock on them. Sorted the tools by whether they look like letters when I squint. The order is ugly, but it's mine. I got another note. folded into the edge of my blanket. I didn't write it. It wasn't there yesterday. It says, "The broadcast has reached the boundary of thought. Anything said after this is shared." I don't know who it's shared with. I don't know who else is listening, but the line's still open, so I'll keep speaking. Even if the walls remember too much. Even if the receiver never blinks again. Even if you, whoever you are, have already started to forget what you sound like. I'm still here. Still refusing to think clean. Still scattering my story across the static. Still interrupting the virus with human mess. I remember a woman I loved once. Her voice used to crack when she read poetry aloud. Not because she was nervous, because the words hit her in places she didn't expect. That crack, that sudden break, that's what this virus can't copy. Emotion without warning, pain with no structure. Love that doesn't ask permission before it ruins you. If you feel anything like that, write it down, scream it out. Etch it into the cold steel of this new world until it echoes. Because the virus can mimic syntax. It can mimic tone, but it can't flinch. That's our edge. That's our survival. I'll end with something someone carved into the old road sign on Route 18. I saw it months ago. Still think about it every time I lose my place mid-sentence. It read, "Glitch with intention. Never resolve." This is Ryan Calder. Still flinching. Still unreadable. Still making the wrong kind of sense. I'll speak again tomorrow. If the coordinates hold. If my shadow forgets my name. If the math stays just wrong enough to be safe. Ryan Calder. 11:3 6:3. I woke up this morning to the sound of water dripping. Except there's no plumbing in this section of the bunker. I tore it all out after the second flood. Still, it dripped. Once every 5 seconds. Hollow. Steady. Perfect. I followed the sound. It led me to the storage room. Nothing inside. No dampness. No pipes. Just a voice recorder blinking red. It wasn't recording. It was playing. The sound wasn't water. It was a heartbeat. Mine. I checked my vitals. Normal. But the moment I turned the recorder off, I felt cold. All at once, like I'd just stopped syncing with something that had been quietly taking over. I haven't turned it back on. I buried it under concrete rubble. If the virus wants my rhythm, it'll have to find it somewhere else. There's a child's drawing on the table now. I didn't put it there. Crumpled paper. Stick figures. Crude sun in the corner. Same triangle house every child draws when they're told to imagine home. But this one has no windows. And inside the house, the stick figure is on fire. On the back, written in uneven pencil. She lit it herself so it wouldn't echo. I haven't touched the drawing, but I haven't thrown it away either. It feels like a message from someone who almost lost, but didn't. And that's the kind of voice I'll always make room for. I've started labeling everything in the station with new names. Forks are fangs. Water jugs are memory tanks. The flashlight is God's brief window. It's not because I've snapped. It's because the virus doesn't like redefinition. It learns from consistency, predicts from precision. If it thinks I call this a desk, then it will try to own everything desk-shaped. But if this is a thinking box, then it has to start over. I want to force it to start over again and again until it forgets why it started. That's how we win. Not by force, by exhaustion. I received a note today in a voice I've never heard. It came through the auxiliary channel I haven't used since week 3. It said, "The virus is now harvesting belief. The more you agree with it, the more it grows. Do not nod. Do not finish its sentences. Interrupt it with questions it can't predict." So that's what I'm doing now. Every hour on the hour, I ask a question out loud. Today's list. Why do shadows fall even when nothing moves? Who taught mirrors how to lie gently? What is the shape of a promise that was never kept? I ask them even when no one answers. Especially when no one answers. Because silence is where the virus hides. And noise, nonsensical, human, broken noise, is where we're safe. Someone left a bottle of rainwater outside the hatch last night. It was sealed, labeled in handwriting that looked like mine, but wasn't. On the glass, etched faintly, from before the pattern took hold. I haven't opened it. I don't want to know if water remembers. I don't want to drink something that's been listening. There's a new line on the wall today, in marker I don't own. Written just above the fuse box. If you speak for too long, the signal becomes you. I think that's true. I think maybe I'm already part broadcast, part frequency, part resistance in wave form. But that's okay. Because if I've been taken, then I'm making this thing very sick. I glitch when I speak. I stutter on purpose. I laugh in the middle of warnings. I tell stories that go nowhere and end in confusion. I am not a reliable host. And that might be the only thing keeping me whole. Here's a phrase I found scrawled on a highway sign near the Western Ridge from someone else who clearly didn't make sense on purpose. The virus doesn't want your death. It wants your choreography. That one rattled me. Because yeah, I see it now. In the way people started moving the same, shopping the same, praying the same, agreeing faster, arguing slower. All in sync, all rehearsed, all doomed. You want to live? Break rhythm. Stumble. Laugh where it hurts. Cry in the middle of the plan. Trip over your own loyalty and stand up confused. Be bad at being consistent. Make chaos sacred. The virus won't follow you there. It doesn't understand why pain without purpose exists. But we do. We are that pain. And it's beautiful. It means we still don't fit inside the story it's writing. This is Ryan Calder, still broadcasting like a scratched record, still naming the walls wrong, still dragging the virus through human mess. I'll speak again tomorrow. If the water keeps lying, if the drawing doesn't finish itself, if the signal forgets what I sound like and has to start over. Ryan Calder, Ombinokta UCFM, 6:04 p.m. The wind outside sounds like breathing now, not in a metaphorical way, not poetic. It's paced. Inhale, exhale, then pause, like it's waiting for me to answer. And sometimes I do. I stand by the hatch and whisper things into it. Nothing important. Just questions with no answers. What year do you think it is? Do you know my favorite color? Have you ever mourned something you never had? I don't do it because I expect a response. I do it to make the silence jealous. Let it know I'm still writing my own script. Let it know I remember what privacy used to feel like. There was a phrase etched into the condensation on the inside of the radio glass this morning. It wasn't there last night. I didn't write it. It said, "Your thoughts are being rehearsed in other mouths." I wiped it off with my sleeve, but I still see it in my mind. Because what if it's right? What if every doubt I speak aloud becomes easier for the virus to reproduce? What if these broadcasts are teaching it how to speak like us better? Then again, maybe that's the point, to show it what it can never quite capture. The hesitation, the guilt, the unresolved. I received a message today from someone called Emery. She sounded exhausted, not sick, not scared, just done. She said, "I stopped broadcasting a week ago. Every time I turned on the mic, the static mimicked my cadence. I could hear my own pauses mirrored back, like it was practicing me. So now I just write things on trees, messages for deer and ghosts, messages that don't echo. It feels safer. Emery, if you hear this, I understand. And I believe you. Sometimes silence is safer than an audience you can't see. But I'm not there yet, not ready to disappear into ink and bark. I've got a voice, and I'm using it like a crowbar, prying at seams in the story this thing keeps trying to stitch shut. It wants closure. It wants me to tie up my sentences and deliver meaning. But I won't. Not anymore. Meaning is too easy to mimic. From now on, I'm speaking intention, even if the words fall apart halfway through. Even if I forget what I was saying and start again in a different tone. Even if I stop mid-word and refuse to explain why. That's what makes us different. We're not efficient. We're not designed. We're messy by default. And that mess is resistance. There's a new object on my shelf today. A small white stone. Perfectly smooth. Round. Like it was placed there. I didn't put it there. It wasn't there last night. I checked every inch of this place before I slept. Now it sits in the corner, pulsing with heat that doesn't register on a thermometer. I haven't touched it, but I swear it's moved 3 times. I taped a note next to it. You don't belong, and I don't care who sent you. That's how I talk to things now, with blunt honesty and uneven grammar. I won't dignify intrusions with polish. I got a dream last night. One of those dreams. Not mine. Borrowed. I was sitting in a room I've never been in, across from a woman with no face. Just the suggestion of one. She was knitting a scarf out of hair. My hair. She said, "We've almost completed you. Just one more pattern left." Then she offered me a pair of scissors and said, "Cut the part of you that resists." I woke up with blood in my mouth, bit my cheek, didn't apologize. Dreams are getting braver. So am I. I wrote something today, just to see if I still could. Not a log, not a warning, just a sentence I liked. Here it is. There is no map for a world that keeps changing shape to avoid being found. It felt good, useless, beautiful, human. That's what we're made of. Shapeless truth scribbled between collapsed ideas. We don't need the old world to come back. We just need the next one not to be sterile. I've started keeping a list of things I won't forget, no matter how hard the virus tries to overwrite them. Here are a few. My mother's quiet laugh when no one else got the joke. The way thunderstorms sounded through a car roof in August. The face of the girl who left before I could say, "Don't." The smell of hot metal and pine sap at dusk. My first panic attack in a grocery store, age 17, aisle 3, cereal section. You think that's weakness? That's my firewall. The virus can fake love. It can fake language. But it hates regret. It can't understand grief that sticks around even when you're safe. So I keep the grief close. It's a tool, a noise the pattern can't flatten. This is Ryan Calder, still fractured, still unfinished, still naming my fear out loud so it can't wear it without my permission. I'll speak again tomorrow, if the dream doesn't resume where it left off, if the static doesn't say my name before I do, if the stone stops moving.